Greetings from St. Paul's Cemetery. In case we haven't met, I'm the Reverend David Turner. I'm the rector here of St. Paul's Anglican Church in beautiful Hampton, New Brunswick. And I'm greeting you from our cemetery today because our scripture readings and reflections for worship this week are all about death. They're about physical death, but they're also about the experience of a feeling that one's hope has died. Now, the reality of death, both physical death and this experience of having hope die, are always around, but they're particularly present these days with the present situation. Obviously, people are dying, and secondly, our isolation from one another and our fear that what's going on right now is going to change our lives forever leaves a lot of us feeling as though hope has died. The thing is, these are not new. Neither of these things are new. God's people have been through this before. And the Bible speaks very powerfully about the grief and loss and even anger that we experience in the face of death. But the Bible points to something else as well. The Bible points to God's response to our experience of death. And what I think we're going to see in our scripture readings and reflections this week is that God responds to our experience of death with at least three really powerful things. Number one, God responds to our experience of death with pure compassion. We're going to see this especially in our gospel reading this week. God responds to our experience of grief and loss and even anger with compassion, pure compassion. He feels it. He knows it. He experiences it as we experience it. And so he validates all the feelings that we feel in the face of grief and death. But God does something else as well. He doesn't just validate how we're feeling. He points to the truth of who he is. He points to the truth of his goodness and his love and his power and his faithfulness. Because, of course, in the face of death, these are some of the things that we're most tempted to doubt. And we're going to see some people who are very close to Jesus doubt some of these things about Jesus. But we're going to see him point to the truth of who he is. And thirdly, God responds to our experience of death by promising us something incredible, absolutely incredible. God responds to our experience of death by promising us something that is so big, on our own it's very difficult to believe. What God promises in the face of death is resurrection, the undoing of death. God has promised that in the fullness of time, he will undo death forever. And what we get to see in Jesus is the beginning of that promise being fulfilled. So these are the things that I think our scripture readings and reflections will point us to this week in our worship. I hope and pray that the material that we put together this week will help you connect with God in worship, and I hope they will help you experience God's compassion and the truth of who God is and the promise of new life that he has for us. Thanks.